Alright, we got another video. This one is called All U.S. Military Men Sentenced to Life in Prison. Full list and shocking details. Ooh, this should be interesting.
Number 1. Staff Sergeant Robert Bales. On the night of March 11th, 2012, former Staff Sergeant Robert Bales, who was born in Norwood, Ohio, and had enlisted in the U.S. Army after the September 11th attacks, left his post at Camp Belumbe, a remote base in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. He then entered the villages of Al-Qazai and Najiban, where he murdered 16 Afghan civilians, including 9 children and 7 adults. Some of the victims' bodies were set on fire. After attacking the village, Bales returned to the base. He then left again to commit further killings. He was apprehended upon his return to Camp Belumbe, with blood on his clothing and weapons. He was taken into custody and later transferred to the United States for trial. Prior to his military service, he worked as a stockbroker. He served 3 tours in Iraq and was on his 4th deployment, his first to Afghanistan, when the tragic events occurred. In June 2013, Bales pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. During his hearing in court, the judge asked him why he thought he was guilty. He boldly read from his statements that he left the Village Stability Platform, VSP, and went to the nearby village of Al-Qazai. While he was inside a compound in Al-Qazai, he observed a female named Naik Marga. After seeing the female, he formed the desire to murder her, and he eventually murdered her by shooting her with a firearm. He was also asked why he carried out the attack, and he stated, "Sir, as far as why I've asked that question a million times since then, there's not a good reason in this world for why I did the horrible things I did." In August 2013, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The Afghan families of the victims rejected his life sentence, stating that they will not be satisfied unless he has been executed. One of them stated, "If they don't execute him, they are showing their power. He martyred 16 of our people, but they are not executing the one person who did all that. Would they forgive us if we killed 16 Americans?" As of April 2025,
Ain't gonna lie, they do make some good points. But I do want to point out one thing. Don't they feel like death is like an easy way out? Like, too easy of a punishment? But I don't know their like religious beliefs, because I don't know that like they believe that if like when they die they're gonna go to hell and get tormented forever and ever and ever. I don't know if they believe that. I don't know what their religious belief is. I think that's why they want him to like die, so that way his soul can go into hell or whatever they believe in that he goes to, and gets like punished or damned to eternity, I think. But from my understanding, wouldn't like the death penalty be like an easy way out? I guess life in prison wouldn't be too bad, depending on the circumstances.
Bales, who is now 51 years old, has served approximately 12 years of his life sentence, and he's incarcerated at the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, the military's only maximum security facility. Given that he was sentenced to life without parole, he is expected to remain incarcerated for the remainder of his life. Number 2, Sergeant.
How well do they get treated there? Because he didn't say like a regular maximum security prison. He said the U.S. type base, like the military has their own version of a prison that military go to when they commit atrocities like this. I don't know. Maybe they was right.
Sergeant Maliek Kearney. Maliek Kearney was a U.S. Army sergeant stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. He was married to Carlin Ramirez, a 24-year-old Army private first class assigned to Fort Meade, Maryland. The couple had a 4-month-old daughter. Kearney and Private Ramirez were married for approximately 5 weeks before they started having issues, and they got separated. Kearney had been violent with Ramirez. This caused her to relocate to a different location far from him and obtained a protective order through the Army prohibiting all contact between them. Despite the orders, Kearney made plans to visit and murder his wife. He recruited his mistress, Dolores Delgado, and they both mapped out plans on how to carry out the plan without being caught. Firstly, he instructed Dolores to carefully track her vehicle's gas mileage from where they were, South Carolina, to where his wife was, Maryland, and use a con to buy the exact gas mileage so he won't have to stop at any gas station to refill after Dolores provided him with a firearm to carry out the murder. On August 24, 2015, Kearney drove his mistress's car from South Carolina to Severn, Maryland, with the intent to murder his wife. He followed back roads to avoid being tracked. Upon arrival, Kearney entered Ramirez's townhouse using his key. An argument started, during which Ramirez reiterated her desire to end their relationship. Kearney then shot Ramirez 3 times at close range, resulting in her death. To mislead investigators, he staged the scene to resemble an assault by removing her pants and pulling down her underwear. He then placed their infant daughter in Ramirez's arms before leaving the scene. He left his child in his mother's arms and drove back to South Carolina, where his girlfriend disposed the murder weapons, and they both lived like nothing had happened. Neighbors noticed the crying baby and informed the police. When police entered the home, they discovered the lifeless body of Carlin Ramirez. An investigation was opened for her murder, as no one knew who had carried out the act. A reward of $20,000 was also put out for anyone who could provide any accurate information concerning her case. After over a year later, investigators identified Kearney as
A year later? So no one thought to I don't know, place 2 and 2 together, like check his ex, her ex? Nobody thought of this until a year later.
suspect due to his disturbing relationship with Ramirez and the existence of a protective order against him, as well as the confession from his girlfriend, Dolores, who was initially the key suspect, but she decided to tell the truth for a reduced sentence. During questioning, Dolores cooperated with authorities, revealing details of their plan, including her role in providing the weapon and assisting in the disposal of evidence, providing her vehicle, and also assisting him in buying a gas to refill his car on the road. She also testified against Kearney during his trial. During his trial, the victim's mother recounted how Kearney came to her daughter's funeral and stared at the coffin, telling her, "For all we know, the killer is among us." She begged the judge in between tears to show no mercy to Kearney, stating that he saw little value in human life, and he should be kept away from the society. In August 2018, after an 11-day trial, Kearney was convicted of interstate travel to commit domestic violence, resulting in death, and using a firearm during the commission of a crime of violence. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on November 30th, 2018. Kearney showed no remorse and little emotion as a judge sentenced him to life in federal prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of his wife, stating, "There is no moment that I don't miss Carlin. The love that I have for her grows stronger as each day passes." The judge pointedly told him that he was lying, and he doesn't believe him. Dolores Delgado, his girlfriend and accomplice, also pleaded guilty to interstate travel to commit domestic violence, resulting in death. She was sentenced to 17 years in federal prison on September 7th, 2018. As of April 2025, Kearney, who is now 43 years old, has served approximately 6 years and 5 months of his life sentence. His daughter, the infant who lay next to her mother's body, is now being raised by family. Number 3.
Nah, that's crazy. And his new girlfriend even crazier for following along with his plan. That's a crazy plan, though, to travel to see how much gas you use up and how long it takes for you to run out of gas, so that way you need to refill, and then buying gas tanks, not gas tanks, but the gas things to not even have to go to a gas station and use gas, so that way you won't be tracked. Crazy stuff. What else? The fact that he went to her funeral, looked at the body that he killed, and said the killer is among us. For all we know, the killer is among us. It's crazy work. But he thought he was the Joker. Whoa, okay. Why isn't his new girlfriend doing life too? She accomplished and did. It's like she's going to get out and he's going to stay in forever. Like, they both should be staying in for life. Not just him. I know he did the killing, but she did some of the work too. This is kind of why I understand why people have fears of dating people who've been in the military or who are in the military, because them people sometimes lose their mind.
Sergeant John M. Russell. Sergeant John Russell was a communications specialist serving his 3rd tour of duty in Iraq with the 54th Engineer Battalion. Prior to the incident that led to his conviction, Russell exhibited signs of severe depression and paranoia, leading to multiple visits to military mental health facilities. He believed his unit was attempting to end his military career, which exacerbated his mental distress. On May 11, 2009, at Camp Liberty near Baghdad, Iraq, Russell was escorted from a counseling session at the Camp Liberty Combat Stress Center following a heated argument. During the escort back to his unit at Camp Stryker, Russell overpowered his escort, seized an unsecured M16 rifle, and drove back to the clinic. Upon arrival, he opened fire, resulting in the deaths of 5 U.S. military personnel: 54-year-old Army Major Matthew P. Housel, 52-year-old Navy Commander Charles K. Springle, 25-year-old Army Staff Sergeant Christian E. Bueno Galdos, 20-year-old Army Specialist Jacob D. Barton, and 19-year-old Army Private First Class Michael E. Yates, Jr. After the shooting, Russell was apprehended immediately and charged with 5 counts of premeditated murder, 1 count of aggravated assault, and 1 count of attempted murder. Initially, during his court-martial, the military prosecutors sought the death penalty. However, in May 2013, Russell pleaded guilty to unpremeditated murder as part of a plea agreement to avoid capital punishment. The military judge, Colonel David Kahn, determined that the murders were premeditated, leading to a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Russell's defense attorneys argued that he suffered from severe depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and a possible brain injury from previous combat experiences, which they claimed diminished his responsibility for the killings. As of April 2025, John Russell, who is currently 60 years old, has served approximately 11 years and 11 months of his life sentence, and he's incarcerated at the United States Disciplinary Barracks. This tragic incident highlights the critical importance of addressing mental health issues among military personnel and ensuring that adequate support systems are in place to prevent such devastating outcomes. Number 4, Sergeant
They be copping pleas by saying that they're guilty so that they won't get capital punishment or that they won't get sentenced to death. They be copping pleas a lot of the time. They be copping pleas.
William Kreutzer. William Kreutzer Jr. was a member of the 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He had enlisted in the U.S. Army in February 1992 and was promoted to sergeant in October 1994. Throughout his service, Kreutzer reportedly faced persistent teasing and practical jokes from fellow soldiers, leading to feelings of isolation and resentment. He was nicknamed Crazy Kreutzer. During one of his time on duty, he broke down and expressed thoughts of harming soldiers. He was immediately taken in for questioning. He was disciplined and later sent to mental health professionals who indicated that he suffered from anger and low self-esteem and confirmed that he was not a threat to the other soldiers, but he was not allowed to use weapons for 2 weeks. A day before the attack, he called SPC Burl Mays, informing him that he was going to open fire on the soldiers during their training. On the day of the attack, around 5 a.m., SPC Burls Mays noticed that he was missing. He immediately reported to his superiors, but they dismissed the claim, saying that Kreutzer was just a baby. But they allowed Mays to search his room, and there he discovered Kreutzer's well-written will. Kreutzer had already gone out and concealed himself in a tree line adjacent to the stadium during their morning physical training at Towel Stadium on Fort Bragg. He was armed with more than 3 different firearms and other weapons. As approximately 1,300 soldiers assembled, Kreutzer opened fire, resulting in the death of Major Stephen Mark Badger and wounding 18 others. During the assault, several unarmed members of the brigade staff, led by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Kerrigan, confronted Kreutzer, forcing him to relocate multiple times. Eventually, 3 Special Forces soldiers, Sergeant First Class Tony Miner, Sergeant First Class Bob Howes, and Sergeant Edward Mongold, managed to tackle and disarm him. Kreutzer was then taken into custody by military police. In 1996, Kreutzer was convicted of premeditated murder, 18 counts of attempted premeditated murder, violating a lawful general regulation, and larceny of government munitions. He was initially sentenced to death. However, in March 2004, the Army Court of Criminal Appeals overturned his death sentence, citing ineffective assistance of counsel and concerns regarding his mental health. On March 10, 2009, as part of a plea agreement to avoid the death penalty, Kreutzer pleaded guilty to 1 count of premeditated murder, 18 counts of attempted premeditated murder, and other related charges. On March 24, 2009, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. He was reduced in rank to E1, he stopped receiving pay and allowances, and he was dishonorably discharged. During the trial, Kreutzer stated that he wanted to send a message to the chain of command that had forgotten the welfare of the common soldier. He also expressed remorse for his actions, stating, "To each and every person that I hurt directly by shooting them, and to each and every person affected by my actions, I offer my most heartfelt, sincere apology to each of you." As of April 2025, Kreutzer has served approximately 29 years and 6 months of his life sentence. Given his sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, he is expected to remain incarcerated for the remainder of his life. He is currently held at the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth. Number 5.
I ain't gonna lie, he could keep that little apology. That little apology ain't gonna bring nobody back to life. So he could just keep that little apology. And why didn't they just... They should have just... He don't need to be breathing. They always cop and please about saying that they plead guilty. They plead guilty, they cop the plea, now they're serving life and escape the death penalty. I don't get it.
5. Soldier Grady Wayne Wilkes. 35-year-old Grady Wayne Wilkes was a former soldier, a member of the Alabama Army National Guard, having enlisted in 2010. By 2019, he had risen to the rank of corporal and served as the leader of an infantry fire team. On the night of May 19, 2019, officers from the Auburn Police Department responded to a domestic disturbance call at the Arrowhead Trailer Park in Auburn, Alabama. The complaint was from Brooklyn Flaherty, Soldier Wilkes' live-in girlfriend and mother of his child. She reported to the police that Wilkes had physically assaulted her by grabbing her wrist and choking her. After meeting with the victim, Officer William Buchner, Officer Webb Sistrunk, Officer Ron Askelson, and Officer Evan Elliott proceeded to Wilkes' residence to confront him and find out what the issue was. As the officers approached the door and gave a knock, Wilkes opened the door wearing a military helmet and body armor, carrying a rifle. Without warning, he opened fire on the officers. Officer William Buchner was fatally shot and was taken to the hospital where he was declared dead. Officers Webb Sistrunk and Evan Elliott sustained injuries. Officer Ron Askelson was also fired upon, but was not hit. Following the shooting, Wilkes fled the scene, prompting a manhunt that lasted approximately 9 hours. He was apprehended around 7:12 a.m. the following morning, less than a mile from the scene, after a citizen provided information leading to his capture. He was indicted on charges of capital murder for the death of Officer Buchner, attempted murder for the shootings of Officers Sistrunk and Elliott, and domestic violence related to the initial assault on his girlfriend. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence of Wilkes' premeditated intent, highlighting that he answered the door equipped with military gear and immediately engaged the officers with gunfire. The defense argued that he suffered from mental illness and did not intend to kill the officer. Wilkes also said that his reflexes and muscle memory pushed him to load the rifle and start shooting. In August 2023, the jury found him guilty of capital murder and attempted murder. Although prosecutors sought the death penalty, the jury opted for a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. During the trial, body camera footage from Officer Buchner was presented, capturing his final words after being shot, stating, "Lord, please help me." Wilkes also expressed remorse, stating that he was very sorry for his actions. As of April 2025, Wilkes has served approximately 1 year and 8 months of his life sentence. Given that he was convicted in a civilian court for crimes committed against civilian law enforcement officers, he is serving his sentence in a state correctional facility in Alabama. Number 6.
Oh, I get it. So if you're in the military or in the army and you commit atrocities like kill like another army person or another military person, since they're not civilian, you'll go to the barracks. But since he killed his girlfriend, he didn't kill his girlfriend. Since he killed police and they're like police civilians, he's gonna go to like the civilian, like the actual like prison. Okay. Now that he explained it, because I was confused at like why didn't all the military people go to the barracks? But since they're civilians and the ones that he killed, the other people killed, were military or in the army, that's why, okay, I was confused a little bit. I was like, oh, what's going on here? But nah, he could save those little apologies for nothing for somebody else, because You already shot the person. Why? Ain't no need to apologize. What's deed is done. I don't know why these people keep saying, "Oh, I apologize that they're dead," or "I'm sorry that they're dead." You can keep it. You can keep it.
Senior Airman Andrew Paul Witt. In the early hours of July 5, 2004, 2 bodies were found inside a base house at 1152A Fort Valley Street, Robins Air Force Base, Warner Robins, Georgia. Senior Airman Andy Schleipzig was discovered lying dead on his back in the living room. He had been stabbed multiple times, and his wife, Jamie Schleipzig, was also found dead, lying next to him wearing only a t-shirt and underwear. Staff Sergeant Jason King, the 3rd victim, was also discovered at a nearby hospital, undergoing emergency surgery for the serious injuries he had sustained during the violent attack carried out Senior Airman Andrew Paul Witt. Airman Andrew was an avionics technician assigned to the 116th Air Control Wing at Robins Air Force Base in Georgia. He enlisted in the U.S. Air Force in 2001 and had been stationed at Robins AFB since August 2002. He was a close friend of Senior Airman Andy and his wife. A day before the murder, Airman Andy and his wife were having a night out in their friend's house, Staff Sergeant Jason King and his wife, when he received a call from Andrew asking if he could join them. Airman Andy accepted but left 30 minutes after Andrew arrived, as he was having headaches, leaving his wife and the others. Prior to this meeting, Sergeant Jason had not met Andrew before. That night, Andrew made a pass at Jamie and tried to kiss her. She immediately pushed him away. Upon hearing this the next day, Airman Andy became very furious and began calling Andrew. Andrew was very apologetic over the phone and asked that they all meet up to talk over the matter. Andy also indicated that he would report Andrew to his superiors for questioning. After the phone calls, Andrew changed into his battle dress uniform, drove to the Schleipzigs' house, where Sergeant Jason King was also with them, and stabbed all 3 after a series of arguments. The husband and the wife died, but King managed to escape. He then made his way down the street and stopped at the only house with a light on, the 10th Street home of Tech Sergeant Jimmy Free. Jimmy then called 911 for help. Andrew was arrested on July 5, 2004, by Air Force Office of Special Investigations agents and placed in pre-trial confinement. During his questioning, he initially denied carrying out the attack, but after several interrogations, he confessed. He also relieved how he pushed the bedroom door open as he was searching for Jamie to murder her. He was formally charged on July 8, 2004, with 2 counts of premeditated murder and 1 count of attempted murder under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. In October 2005, a military jury convicted him of all charges and sentenced him to death. This marked the first death sentence in the Air Force since 1990. His death sentence underwent multiple appeals. In 2013, the Air Force Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the sentence due to ineffective assistance of counsel. However, the Air Force Court of Appeals reinstated the death sentence in July 2014. In July 2016, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces again reversed the death sentence and remanded the case for a new sentencing hearing. On July 6, 2018, he was resentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As of April 2025, he has served approximately 20 years and 9 months of his life sentence. Number 7, Private I.
So they just reinstating, uninstating, reinstating, uninstating, reinstating, uninstating the death penalty. I have yet to see anybody catch the death penalty in here. And it's not like they don't need it, they do need it. Ah, dang. Like, they're quite literally a waste of space. Quite literally, for their crimes that they did. Quite literally a waste of space.
Isaac Agwigwi. Isaac Agwigwi was a 22-years-old private in the U.S. Army stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia, when he carried out his numerous heinous crimes. His criminal activities include multiple homicides, including the deaths of his pregnant wife, 24-year-old Sergeant Deirdre Agwigwi, and 2 civilians, Michael Rourke and Tiffany York. On July 17, 2011, Sergeant Deirdre Agwigwi, his wife, who was approximately 7 months pregnant, was found unresponsive in the couple's apartment at Fort Stewart. Initial autopsy reports were inconclusive regarding the cause of death. However, a subsequent examination revealed over 20 bruises and scrapes on her body, with wounds on her wrists consistent with handcuff restraints. Further analysis suggested that she could have died from asphyxiation, likely due to a strangulation. Investigators discovered handcuffs and other items indicating a staged or a well-planned crime, but the exact cause of death could not be determined. Investigations revealed that Isaac and Deirdre met at a military prep school in 2009 and were married months later. But friends testified that by the summer of 2011, their marriage had been strained by his substance use and infidelity by both spouses. Friends said Isaac doubted that the child his wife carried was his, and he wanted a divorce. Notably, hours before Deirdre's death, Isaac sent a text message to a former girlfriend stating, "We'll have plenty of money. All I need is your body whenever I want it." This pointed to a financial motive, as he received $500,000 in life insurance and death benefits following his wife's demise. Using the funds obtained from his wife's life insurance, Isaac financed and started an anti-government militia group named Forever, Enduring Always Ready, FEAR. This group, composed of active duty and former soldiers, had huge plans. They aimed to stockpile weapons and orchestrate attacks to overtake their army base, and overthrow the U.S. government and carry out an attack on the president. Evidence showed the group possessed the knowledge, means, and motive to carry out their plans. Isaac utilized his military connections to recruit soldiers who were in trouble or disillusioned. The members of the group identified themselves with distinctive tattoos resembling an anarchy symbol. The group invested at least $87,000 in purchasing semi-automatic assault rifles, other firearms, and bomb components. In one of the videotapes played during his investigation, Isaac described himself as the nicest cold-blooded murderer you will ever meet. The exact number of the members of the FEAR group is not known, but a few known individuals, including 26-years-old Private First Class Michael Burnett, Sergeant Anthony Peden, and Private Christopher Salmon, including their other colleague, 19-year-old Officer Michael Rourke, all worked hand-in-hand with Isaac to plan out his attack. In December 2011, Isaac suspected that former soldier Michael Rourke, who had left the army a few days earlier, and his 17-year-old girlfriend, Tiffany York, posed a threat to the secrecy of FEAR's operations, since 17-year-old girlfriend, Tiffany...
17-year-old girlfriend? What's going on over here, gang? How old is he again? Because don't you need to be 18 to enlist? He don't look 18. What's going on here?
York posed a threat to the secrecy of FEAR's operations, since he was a former member. To eliminate this perceived risk, Isaac instructed Officer Michael, Anthony, and Christopher to eliminate Rourke and his girlfriend to tighten loose ends. On the night of December 4th, 2011, the group lured Rourke and York into the woods near Fort Stewart under the pretense of target practice. There, they were executed. York was shot twice by Officer Anthony in the head while she was exiting the vehicle, and Rourke was forced to kneel by Officer Christopher before he shot him similarly twice in the head. The murders of Rourke and York led to an investigation that uncovered the existence and activities of FEAR. Isaac, along with other members of the group, was arrested and charged. In July 2013, Isaac pleaded guilty to 2 counts of malice murder and 4 counts of violating Georgia's anti-gang law in connection with the deaths of Rourke and York. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Subsequently, in March 2014, Isaac was implicated in the murder of his wife and baby. After months of not knowing the exact cause of his wife's death, Isaac's former army friend testified that a month after his wife's death, Isaac reportedly told him that he had handcuffed her during their intimate moments in the bedroom and placed a plastic bag over her head, causing her to die. Isaac also told investigators that his wife liked to have her hands bound during intimate moments, and that she wore the handcuffs consensually. He was court-martialed for the murder of his wife and their child, and was found guilty. He received an additional life sentence without parole. As of April 2025, Isaac Agigi has served approximately 11 years and 9 months of his life sentences. Number 8, Soldier Ryan...
God damn, I forgot that she was pregnant and that she had a baby in her. Golly. This could be going on right now. What I mean is the group, like, they could be like disillusioned, like soldiers who are not right in the head, trying to make little groups and form little groups to overtake the government. This could be happening right now too. That's the crazy part, and nobody would really know. And like they said, they had the means and the funds. They spent $87,000 on ammunition and firearms. So what's stopping another anti-government group from sparking up now, who's part of the military, or who just left the military and who's disillusioned and disarrayed and not right in the head? Imagine 100 military people who's not right in the head, who's disillusioned, and who's not mentally right in the head, starting a militia to overthrow the government, and they're buying guns and stockpiling guns.
Gibson Anderson, 47-year-old Ryan Anderson, was a tank crewman with the 303 Armor Battalion of the 81st Armor Brigade at Fort Lewis, near Tacoma. He was born in Everett, Washington, and was a former specialist in the Washington State National Guard. Anderson attended Cascade High School in Everett, and later graduated from Washington State University in 2002 with a Bachelor of Arts in History, focusing on Middle Eastern military history. During his college years, he converted from Lutheranism to Islam and adopted the name Amir Abdul Rashid. In the late 2003, while he was stationed at Fort Lewis, in Yakima, where he was training for a year-long deployment to Iraq as his National Guard unit was preparing for deployment, Anderson began visiting extremist internet chat rooms, attempting to establish contact with al-Qaeda operatives. He offered to provide information on U.S. military capabilities and weaponry. These online activities were first detected by Shannon Rossmiller, a former municipal judge in Montana who monitored Islamist jihad websites. Recognizing the potential threat, Rossmiller alerted the FBI, prompting a joint sting operation involving the Army, the FBI, and the Department of Justice. In January and February of 2004, Anderson unknowingly started engaging with undercover agents posing as al-Qaeda members. He provided them with sketches of M1A1 and M1A2 tanks, a computer disk containing his passport photo, military identification card, and weapons card. He also shared information about U.S. Army troops.
Night thermal vision devices, improve outer tactical vest, knee, elbow pads, and tactical gloves, combat boots, family of improved load-bearing equipment.
Strengths, movements, equipment tactics, and methods for targeting U.S. Army personnel and equipment. Notably, he detailed the exact caliber of rounds needed to penetrate the windshield and murder the driver of an up-armored Humvee. In one of his chats with a close friend, he reportedly indicated that the FBI had questioned him and was now looking into him. His charade came to an end in the afternoon of Thursday, February 12, 2004, when he was arrested at Fort Lewis, Washington, following the sting operation. Neighbors indicated that his wife, who he was leaving with at that moment, was very shocked. Anderson was charged with 5 counts of attempting to aid the enemy. His motivations for attempting to aid al-Qaeda appear to come from a desire to belong and being accepted, as they were clear evidence by his online activities seeking connection. His court-martial began on August 31, 2004, at Fort Lewis. During the trial, the defense argued that Anderson suffered from bipolar disorder and Asperger's syndrome, conditions that allegedly impaired his judgment and led to role-playing behaviors. Despite this defense, on September 3, 2004, the military jury found Anderson guilty on all counts. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. He was demoted to the rank of a private and dishonorably discharged from the Army. As of April 2025, Ryan G. Anderson has served approximately 20 years and 8 months of his life sentence. He remains incarcerated at the United States Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. He is the second Muslim soldier with Fort Lewis connections to be accused of wrongdoing related to the war on terrorism. Number 9, Ali.
All right. I see that there's a lot of lonely people in the military. I see that but wants to have the belonging of acceptance, because ain't no way. But this was like back in like what? I forgot what year they said it was. But belonging of acceptance. Come on now. Now, he looks like a terrorist. I'm just saying. Ali Hamas. I can't see his full name, but Hamad. I think that's Hamad. I'm just playing.
Hamza Ahmad Suleiman. Ali Hamza Ahmad Suleiman was born in Al-Hudaydah, Yemen. He was a Yemeni national who became a prominent figure within al-Qaeda, serving as Osama bin Laden's media secretary. His role involved producing propaganda materials aimed at recruiting and inspiring terrorist activities against the United States. Notably, he created a 2-hour al-Qaeda recruitment video glorifying the bombing of the USS Cole and scripted video wills for 2 of the September 11th hijackers. Hamza was captured on December 15, 2001, near Parachinar, while attempting to cross into Pakistan from Afghanistan. He was subsequently transferred to U.S. custody on December 26, 2001, and detained at the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, where he has been held since 2002. In 2008, he was charged before a military commission with conspiracy, solicitation to commit murder, and providing material support for terrorism. He chose to boycott the proceedings, refusing legal representation and remaining silent throughout the trial. Despite his non-participation, the military jury convicted him on all charges and sentenced him to life imprisonment. His conviction underwent multiple appeals and legal challenges. In January 2013, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit overturned his convictions, ruling that the charges were not internationally recognized as war crimes at the time of his actions. However, in October 2016, the full D.C. Circuit reinstated the conspiracy conviction, and the U.S. Supreme Court declined to review the case in October 2017. As of April 2025, Al-Bahlul has served approximately 23 years and 4 months of his life sentence. He remains incarcerated at the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, with no possibility of parole. Number 10. Soldier Dwight Jeffrey. Former soldier Dwight Jeffrey Loving was born in Rochester, New York. He was a private first class in the United States Army stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. On December 11, 1988, Loving entered 2 convenience stores and robbed them, obtaining only less than $100. In order to obtain additional funds, he targeted local taxi drivers. On the evening of December 24, 1988, Loving hailed a cab driven by 20-year-old Army Private Christopher Fay, an active-duty soldier working part-time as a taxi driver. He directed Fay to a secluded area within Fort Hood, where he robbed him at gunpoint. After taking Fay's money, he shot him in the back of the head. After he shot him, he observed that Fay was still moving. He shot him a second time, making sure he was dead. Fay's body was discovered shortly thereafter by another soldier. Shortly after, about a few minutes later that same day, Loving called for another cab, which was driven by 44-year-old retired Army Master Sergeant Bobby Charbino. Using a similar tactic, Loving had Charbino drive to a secluded location in Killeen, Texas. There, he robbed Charbino and shot him in the head, resulting in his death. After the second murder, he went out and socialized with his girlfriend and others at local nightclubs. Later that evening, Loving attempted to rob a third cab driver, Howard Harrison. During the robbery, Harrison managed to struggle with Loving, disarming him and escaping with injuries. This encounter provided crucial evidence leading to Loving's apprehension. The following day, a joint task force comprising FBI agents, Texas Rangers, and U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division agents arrested Loving. He provided a videotaped confession detailing the murders and attempted murder, which became a pivotal piece of evidence in his trial. He confessed that he killed his first victim to see if he could get away with it, and killed his second one for fun. In March 1989, Loving was tried by a military court-martial at Fort Hood. On April 3, 1989, he was convicted of 2 counts of premeditated murder, attempted murder, and multiple counts of robbery. The court-martial panel unanimously sentenced him to death. Loving was 21 years old at the time of his sentencing. His conviction and death sentence underwent extensive appellate review. In 1996, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of his death sentence. Subsequent appeals were unsuccessful. On January 17, 2017, just a few days to leave the presidential office, President Barack Obama commuted his death sentence to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The commutation specified that Loving would not have any rights to parole or sentence suspension. Following his sentencing, Loving was incarcerated at the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, the U.S. military's maximum security facility. As of April 2025, Dwight Jeffrey Loving, who is currently 57 years old, has served approximately 36 years and 4 months of his life sentence. Given the terms of his commutation, he will remain imprisoned for the remainder of his life. Thank you.
Why didn't they just give him the death penalty? Like, oh my god, bro. If anything, he's the one who needed it the most. But of course, they're going to suspend his death penalty and just give him life in prison at the barracks. Serial killers enlisting in the military is not implorable. When I was in service, I met a lot of sociopaths and psychopaths. The first soldier in the video should have been left in Afghanistan. I never understand why anyone would go along with killing someone's ex. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. My folks been in the military for about 20 years. In that 20 years, I could tell you some really messed up stories. The main point is you'd be really surprised if you realize the number of felonies that occur in the military that never get prosecuted. It's actually really disturbing. Oh, I know there's pretty some people that just in the military that did some crazy stuff and like never got caught or never got prosecuted. It just got swept under the rug. And that's some crazy stuff.
Now what you gonna say when it all comes back down? Girl, you're gonna love me.
I love you, Chief Rizzo.
What you gonna do when all your love hits the ground? You're gonna love me.
Shit, they didn't care about me no more. I took a few steps away, found me somebody else. But I was there when you needed me. She know I play, I don't know if she seeing me. At least I'm trying to still ain't give up, yeah. My anxiety gone, but I